like to change from family to school a little bit, to
Okay.
just to say, because as you describe the parent who wants the child to get their homework done
Right.
earlier, when it comes to a teacher and type differences, I'm assuming that the same applies
It does.
at some level.
It does. And usually on the JP scale is where we find homework issues more than on others. If it's getting it done, if it's processing the information, we'll be on the SN scale. But on the JP scale is that planning, the timing of getting it done. And kids with a J preference tend to have an internal clock that is just more accurate. Perceivers tend to have a clock that underestimates how long something might take to do. Because we know the perceiver is going to get energy at the last moment, asking them to start working too early is not using their best brain time. So what we tell the teachers are forward chaining or backward chaining. Forward planning is when you say, here's when it's due, and here's what you have done now. Plan forward for how you can get it done. But backward planning is what is the last minute you can start and still get it done. And perceiving kids react to that language much better. And because they may not estimate possible interferences, you can throw out some. So like, what would happen if you'd lose electricity like they did last week when the storm came through? Well, then I'd have to. The problem is that sometimes J adults think that's going to tell the child to think J ways. But what it does is it inspires them to think creatively of, so if I lose the power, how else can I get it done? And I keep saying to them, it doesn't matter. What matters is if it was due on Monday, it's due on Monday. And if it's not in on Monday, whatever consequence you would give for failure to complete an assignment, you would give. And it doesn't matter what song and dance they have about, well, I really did, I tried, I worked hard. It's like, okay, so what would you need to do next time so that your working hard worked for you? So effort doesn't get it. The task, the job gets done. And our tool is to help them do that job to the best of their ability in the easiest way and best way for them. But perceiving kids just are going to start from the deadline and work backwards. That's how they think in terms of product. But it's not laziness. And a lot of people want to call it laziness. And it's not laziness. It's letting the ideas simmer until they are just exactly right, and then they're produced.
Do you think that this perceiving, judging difference is one of the biggest places for conflict between parents and children and teachers and students?
It's the biggest place for what I call living conflicts. Just living in the same space. The J and the P and the E and the I seem to cause irritations more. When it's information processing, it's going to be the S and the N. When it's relationships and decision making, it's going to be more on the TF scale. So if I'm trying to teach you a concept, the JP may not be a factor at all. But if I'm helping you plan for when things are going to get done, then it really does come into play a little bit more.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the introversion-extroversion scale and the implications in the family when you have a child who has a preference for extroversion and both of the parents are introverts, let's say. What kind of impact does that have?
Well, in our family we had 3 introverts and 1 extrovert.
Oh my.
And I feel like we never fairly modeled for him how to be an extrovert. He had to learn that from other people in his life because we were our own style. As an adult, my extroverted adult child and I were watching a movie together. And at the end of the movie, I said, oh my gosh, I haven't laughed so hard in years. I said, that was hysterical. And he looked at me and he said, Mom, not a single sound has come out of your mouth. And I said, you're kidding me. He said, no, I'm sitting here thinking, boy, I made her sit here and watch this movie, and I'm feeling bad that I made her watch this movie with me, and how could she not even be enjoying this? But inside, I was so active mentally and so actively enjoying it that it totally escaped my knowledge that I hadn't shown that to the world. So when I'm working with introverted kids and introverted adults, I say sometimes you have to manage yourself and make sure the world gets some signal for what is processing within you,
Yes.
because they can't guess at it.
They need some feedback
They
element.
need some.
And I think extroverts may need it more than introverts, is what I hear you saying.
Well, extroverts need that feedback so that they can react to it. And then sometimes they need to understand that the pause space, the wait time for introverts in family life and in business life and in school life is different. So that when an introvert has paused, the extroverts would already be going, yeah, come on, spit it out, get it out, right? You're taking too long. But for an introvert, that was just a gentle pause. For an extrovert, that was a dead zone, nothing happening. So let's get some action going, which means they then jump in and take over. And then you get things like, you always talk, you never let anybody else have a turn to talk. And they'll be like, well, nobody else takes a turn to talk. It's like, so you just come up with some rules and systems for allowing it. But I remember one that used to really get me is my extrovert used to go, hey, mom, 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 mom. And I finally just said to him, honey, I know it looks like I'm not doing anything, but I have an inside channel that is just broadcasting great stuff. And I have to turn off that channel and open up one to hear you. So after you say mom, you're not allowed to say it again until you count to 10. After you count to 10, you can say it again if I haven't answered you yet. And it worked great. They used to make a game out of trying to beat me. But they had to understand that there was a mental process going on. I wasn't just standing there doing nothing, even though that's what it looked like.
Well,
so it was teaching them mutual respect, I guess.
In a family where type isn't known,
Yeah.
and let's say it's the same composition of the family that you have, how is that extroverted child misunderstood?
Oh, well, even before we used type, we'd get things like he'd go, mom, 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 and I'd go, what? What? And he'd be like, what are you mad about? I'm not mad about anything. What do you want? I don't want to talk to you if you're in a bad mood. I'm not in a bad mood. What do you want? It'd be like, because the tone and everything else about it was, I was interrupted. I was annoyed.
Yes.
But I didn't have a reason for it. So I pretended like I wasn't, that the whole relationship takes on a different
And he really
flavor.
didn't understand that he was interrupting.
No.
He just wanted to
He was
get your
initiating communication.
your attention and to initiate what he wanted.
Yeah.
And so
Well, you're not doing anything, so why not? I could come up. Because we hadn't taught them about our differences. So once we teach them about our differences, then all of a sudden my standing there alone, quiet, doesn't necessarily mean I'm doing nothing. It comes up with then, hey, Mom, can I talk to you for a minute? A whole different deal. But it's because of the mutual respect you can engender when everybody in the family understands about type.
Yeah, I was going to say that once the family knows about type, then all of a sudden you have the language that you can use, so that what may be annoying or misunderstood, it's it may still be annoying or misunderstood, but at least everybody has that common language that you can talk about it.
I remember a story once, and it was Mom was an introvert sitting alone on the couch, and the little kid ran inside and said, Mom, are you lonely, or is it just that introverted stuff and you want some time alone? And she said, I just need a moment alone. Okay, cool. But if you were lonely, I'd stay. No, I'm fine. You can go. But it gives them a way to frame the behavior from a normal perspective first, and then a need perspective.